Hello there, we're going to look at dividing decimals. Question 1, 0.6 divided by 7. Now, before we get our final answer, we're going to have our halfway answer. And we can write the answer to any division question as a fraction. So there it is, 0.6. That's the first number, over 7, the second number. But we don't like decimals within fractions. So what we're going to do is, we're going to turn the 0.6 into a whole number by multiplying it by 10. But to keep the fraction equivalent, we must do the same to the denominator. So we get 6 over 70. 0.6 times 10 is 6. 7 times 10 is 70. Let's go through that again. Question 2. 0.2 divided by 9. We write this as 0.2 over 9. That's our halfway answer, if you will. It's not our final answer. Now we're going to turn 0.2 into a whole number by multiplying it by 10. And we must do the same to the denominator to keep the fraction equivalent. To give us 2, that's 0.2 times 10 over 90. Question 3. 0.17 divided by 8. Now, here's our halfway answer, 0.17 over 8. Nice and straightforward, that. Now, in order to turn 0.17 into a whole number, I've got to multiply it by 100. To keep the fraction equivalent, I must do the same to the other part of the fraction, 8. And so look what final answer I get. 0.17 times 100 is 17, and 8 times 100 is 800. Question 4. 0.03 divided by 19. So here's our halfway answer, 0.03 over 19. Now, because it's got two figures after decimal point, as in the previous one, I've got to multiply it by 100. And to keep the fraction equivalent, I must do the same to the denominator. 0.03 times 100 is 3. 19 times 100 is 1900. Now, question 5. What about when both are fractions? 0.7 divided by 0.8. So here's our halfway answer, 0.7 over 0.8. Now, we don't like decimals within fractions, so I'll multiply the numerator by 10. And I have to do the same to the denominator. 0.7 times 10 is 7. 0.8 times 10 is 8. And there is a proper fraction. But will that always happen? Look at this one here. 0.3 divided by 0.02. Let's have a look. So we write it, here's our halfway answer, 0.3 over 0.02. Now to turn the numerator into a whole number, I multiply it by 10, and I have to do the same to the denominator to give me 3 over 0.02 times 10 is 0.2. That's not a fraction, not a conventional fraction, because it's got a decimal in it. Now how do I get round that? Well, similar procedure as before. I'm going to have to multiply that by 10. And to keep the fraction equivalent, I must do the same to the numerator to give me 30 over 2. Question 7. 0.04 divided by excuse me, divided by 0.5. So here's our halfway answer, 0.04 over 0.5. Now I've got to multiply the numerator by 100 to turn it into a whole number. And of course I'm forced to do the same to the denominator. 0.04 times 100 is 4. 0.5 times 100 is 50. So I don't have to do any more here. There's the answer as a fraction. Question 8, a really tricky one. 0.07 divided by 0.05. 0.009. So here's our halfway answer, 0.007 over 0.0009. Now, to turn that numerator into a whole number, I've got to multiply it by 1,000. And what you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. Excuse me. 0.007 times 1,000 is 7. But 0.0009 times 1,000 is 0.9. Now, that's got decimals still within it. So, one more step. I have to multiply the denominator by 10 to turn it into a whole number. And of course, I'm forced to do to the numerator whatever I do to the denominator. 7 times 10 is 70. 0.9 times 9 is 9. Right, I'm going to give you half a dozen here for you to practice. Let's just extend the page. Right, copy these down as I go through them. Where did we get to? What was our last? It was 8, wasn't it? Probably got up to question 10 or, no, 12 or 13. No, I won't get to 13. I don't like 13 as a number. Anyway, copy down these questions. Excuse me. Okay, now pause it, write down your answers, and then come back and let's see what you got. Okay, welcome back. Here we get 0.7 over 13, multiply top and bottom by 10 to give 7 over 130. If you got that, give yourself a tick. Question 10, you should have got. Is your halfway answer, 0.3 over 0.4. Multiply numerator and denominator by 10 to give 3 over 4. If you got that, give yourself a tick. Now, question 11. You should have got 0.07 over 0.5. Now we have to multiply the numerator by 100. And of course, what you do to one part of the fraction must do to the other to give 7 over 50. If you got that, well done, you got a tick. Now, question 12, you should have got 0.02, this is your halfway answer, over 0.09. Multiply numerator and denominator by 100. And we get 2 over 9. If you got that, give yourself a tick. Now, what about these last few? They're probably the trickiest. Here's our halfway answer. 0.4 over 0.06. Now we multiply the top by 10, the numerator, so we must do the same to the denominator to give 4 over 0.6. Now that's still got a decimal in it, so I'm going to have to multiply the denominator by 10, and of course I have to do the same to the other part, the numerator, to give me 4 times 10, 40 over 6. So the answer was 40 over 6. If you got that, very well done. And our last one there, let's give ourselves some room here. Here's our halfway answer, 0.03 over 0.005. Now to turn the numerator into a whole number, I've got to multiply it by 100, and I have to do the same to the other part of the fraction to give me 3 over 0.005 times 100 is only 0.5. Now we've still got decimals there, so I'll multiply that by 10. I must do the same to the numerator. What you do to one part, you must do to the other, to give 30 over 5. Thank you for listening. Okay, a lengthier video than I intended, but I hope that has shown you how you can turn division of decimals into, and how you can get, find the answer to a division of decimals question as a fraction. Thank you for listening.